Welcome to a brand new segment of the K&D podcast series, K&D Movies, where we will break down movies new and old and discuss our thoughts and feelings. We hope you enjoy.
Yo, 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 welcome back to the K&D Exchange. I am your host, KD, alongside co-host David. David, what's new with you?
This movie's new, so
True.
yeah, it's
exactly.
new for me. But yeah, what's new? Nothing much, man. Everyone's ticking along nicely. And,
Yeah.
the UK's coming out of lockdown and restrictions and stuff. The sun's shining. It's a bit windy, but
Yeah, it's been
we're all
hella.
right. We're all right, man. How about yourself? You good?
Yeah, all good. So yeah, for returning listeners, thank you very much for tuning in still. For new listeners, this is actually a new segment that we're doing on the podcast. So usually we do an album exchange of alternating albums every week for each other to listen to that the other host hasn't heard before, and then we discuss it. What we're doing now is just for a bit of extra content every alongside our solo reviews. We're also adding in, because me and David love movies as well. We are also adding in these little smaller segments, kicking off with I haven't decided on the title yet, but we would call it I called it David's MCU Catch Up, because they're as big as MCU fans that we are, there are a few gaps in David's viewing history, and so since it's probably the biggest, well, SpiderMan is the biggest name, I think, superhero probably globally. I think that's probably the case. Yeah, from a commercial perspective as well. Check the numbers, bro. I'm not saying this just because I'm a huge fan. I'm just saying check the
There's
numbers.
recency bias in that. He's just released a new movie, so of course
No,
it's going to be.
but it's been like that across the board, for years. As in, if you look at toys, merchandise, how many cartoons get made about him, etc., and movies, how many reboots he's gone through, etc., how much hype there always is. I mean, even the trailer broke records for how many views it got. And again, I'm not just talking my own opinion or trying to gas it up just because he's my favorite. It just so happens that I think he's like Eminem, he doesn't have to be active and yet still just gets worldwide fucking appeal all the time, just not even doing anything. You know what I mean?
There's a line. There's a tagline if ever heard it.
Spider-Man. He's just
Spider-Man,
like Eminem.
the Eminem of comics.
Yeah. But there are, there's people and things like that where they just seem to permeate across. Actually, okay, he's more like Michael Jackson, to be fair. We were talking about young kids now coming up, weren't even walking the earth at the same time as MJ, and yet they become huge fans of his music permeates time like that. Spider-Man seems to be that longer lasting kind of property. But yeah, which makes it even weirder. Sorry, catching my throat. Makes it even weirder. David hasn't seen the MCU Spider-Man movies yet. So this week we're going to start with the first standalone. His first appearance in the MCU obviously was in Civil War, and then he got his standalone. Did you watch Civil War?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, cool. And now and then he has his 3 standalone movies. And so we're starting with the first one, which is Homecoming. And since this was kind of fresh for you, David, I'll let you just kind of start with how you want to take it.
Yeah, man, I'll just start with some initial thoughts. So one of the reasons why I avoided this movie, it's not because I thought it was going to be a pile of rubbish or anything like that.
Sure.
It was purely because at the time I loved Civil War. I loved the introduction of Spider-Man into the MCU. I thought it was done really organically. and they also did it with like Black Panther. It was a Black Panther origin story as well as a battle between Captain America and Iron Man. So it was a lot going on, and it was incredibly well done. So I was more taken with Black Panther's story because I'd never seen him, and I have a little bit of a history with Black Panther, but I'm sure that we will get into it maybe later on down the line. But when it came to Spider-Man, it was just a case of franchise fatigue. I'd seen Tobey Maguire's trilogy. I'd seen the pair of films that Andrew Garfield did, The Amazing Spider-Man. And I thought to myself, I don't need to see another version of it. And that's why I avoided it up until now. And it wasn't that I thought that it was going to be lame or it was going to be rubbish, but I thought, well, it's Marvel. It's going to be cookie cutter. It's not really, it's going to be good, but it's going to be kind of it's going to be a good time, but it's not going to leave a lasting impression. And I kind of made that decision, especially in the light of later on down the line when I was watching Infinity War and Endgame. I was like, what is the point? There's no point going back to this movie for me. So I wasn't, if it wasn't going to be part of this podcast, I probably would never have watched it. And but the thing is, it's not because I think it's a terrible movie or that it's not going to be done well. I just didn't think it would add anything to my life at all. And when I watched it yesterday, so I've only seen it once. I didn't take any notes because I just wanted to sort of immerse myself and enjoy it. And did I enjoy it? Yeah. I mean, it was okay. Did I think it added much to, the MCU? And did I think it added much to, the Spider-Man mythos? Absolutely. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Oh my goodness. There were so many little...
I couldn't tell where you were going with that. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, I did.
I thought so. I was like, oh man, where is he going with this?
Right.
Nice.
Sorry,
what were you going to say? There's so many little details. And
I know. We'll get into it. There are so many little things in this movie that I was like, I know exactly where I was in the timeline. Like, obviously, the way the movie opens with the camera where he's in the battle of the airport. And I absolutely loved when he caught Ant-Man growing and turning into Giant Man. I was like, it was because it was the most fantastical thing about Civil War. And I even now, when I think back at it, I remember seeing that thinking, I didn't see it coming that he turned into Giant Man. And the fact that he caught it on camera and he was candid and he's, I'm going to meet Mr. Stark and I'm meeting Happy Hogan and this, that. And I was like, all right, I know exactly where I am. In the MCU. So I thoroughly enjoyed the opening. I was especially because they caught the Giant Man thing. So man. And there are so many cool little details. The MCU has had a problem with villains, and in this I caught a few little nods here and there. There were some that were overt and some that definitely were not. So, and I think that was in answer to The Amazing Spider-Man, but I'll leave it there because we can talk about it later on. But yeah, dude, I wish I saw this in the cinema. There were bits, though, where the CGI was awful, absolutely terrible. And it really threw me out of the movie. There were some really bad bits because, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy, I watched that again recently. CG holds up, like it looks fantastic still. Whereas in Spider-Man, I would have thought it would have been seamless, like in like Civil War, for example. There aren't really that many bits that pulled me out of the movie, but in yesterday there was loads.
Which you cut out a little bit. Which movie did you say?
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, yeah.
So I was just saying that they the CG really holds up for me in a lot of that movie, whereas in the Spider-Man film, some of it is really bad, really bad.
Well, I guess we'll get into it. Yeah, I was going to say which parts.
There's just a couple where he's just on his own. He's clearly not in the room. He's clearly not where he's set to be, right? And it's clearly, that's a studio, and that's not a real. That's not a real suit. Like Iron Man pulled off better CG in 2008 than some of the stuff that I saw yesterday. And I was like,
yeah.
But
I feel that too.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, You've
And
got
the
more of
suit
a budget.
looks, yeah, and the suit looks really good in real life. Like when you look at the behind the scenes like shoots and stuff like that, the suit looks good, but for some reason they CGI over it, and I don't know what their kind of end goal is with that. And yeah, there are. Yeah, I've noticed it more now with MCU movies, like being able to tell that they're not in the location compared to, like, let's say the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films.
Exactly.
You knew that they were on location or in a most of the time, and they'd always switch between. They'd always really cleverly switch between a CGI shot of, I don't know, him fighting Doc Ock, even though the CGI doesn't hold up as well as it does, probably did back then. But you quickly go from a CGI shot to then a shot where it's live action, and it would keep you kind of engrossed. Whereas here, it sometimes looks like I'm sometimes like, is he actually there, or is that just a computer Spider-Man just jumping around the place or whatever?
This is the thing, though. New York,
at the moment,
like New York, there's plenty of opportunity, or whatever city, there's plenty of opportunity to shoot on location. You've got a varied amount of beautiful open spaces, whether it be urban or natural, in only a short drive away. And I've noticed it, like even in Captain America: Civil War, like the airport scene, they ain't really there. Like you can tell it's just things like that really pull me out of the movie. Maybe it's because I come from an era of watching like Jurassic Park. It's big open spaces and things like that. Like they're really there.
Yeah,
you can't fake that, right? Whereas the dinosaurs obviously were mechanical and animatronics, but it engrosses you because you feel like you can touch it through the lens of the movie, right? You feel like it's real. That people are interacting. You can
imagine being there.
Exactly. Things are bouncing off them. Things are moving around them. But that's one of my issues with modern movies at the moment is like, and especially with like Avengers, like Endgame, or especially with Endgame, where they couldn't get all the actors. Like, and obviously everybody's got like conflicting schedules and things like that. I know practically it's nearly impossible to get everybody in one go, but you could really tell at the end of that movie that none of them were there at the same time. And again, it's meant to be a powerful moment, but that the Guardians of the Galaxy aren't really there alongside Thor and the rest of them. Like they're all looking a bit.
They're all in different places.
They're all looking a bit booky. It's not looking good. And you're like, this is the saddest moment of the MCU, and like, you're not all there. Like, so it's just it's for me, pulls me out of the movie. Did it affect my overall enjoyment of the movie? But no, that's where we are now. So this is one of, like, genuinely, I could not believe how much I enjoyed this movie. Let's talk about villains, for example. What I was going to say earlier on. Right. MCU villains. I mean, Thanos is the best one that we've seen so far. I haven't seen all the movies, obviously. Thanos is the best one I've seen. Followed by, I don't really know. I thought Ultron was annoying after a while.
I liked Ultron.
He was all right. Quiptron, like, because he was always quipping everywhere. But when it comes to sort of like human badasses, like Ulysses Claw's pretty, like, I think he's pretty like fun to be around or whatever. But I really, really, really thoroughly enjoyed Michael Keaton's portrayal of the Vulture. I thought the fact that he's not really a vulture sucking on the youth of people to make himself young, but he's leeching off, and he's like hunting tech and resources, and he's scavenging stuff like that. I was like, okay, I like this, and I like the design. Like, can we talk about the green eyes on the flippings?
Sick,
mate. And like when you first see him as well, because he comes out of, when Spider-Man's chasing the truck, and he just comes out of nowhere. Pulls him in the sky. I was like, this looks amazing. It's so moody. And Michael Keaton, let's just give it to him for gravitas.
Michael Keaton's great.
I cannot wait to see him again in the MCU. He's got to come. Like, and I haven't seen the other movies, so I don't know. But for me right now, like, he's got to come back. I love this performance.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it, but you probably should have seen it by now. But I'm. I mean, it's been quite a few years. but I'm glad that they didn't kill him at the end of the movie, like that they've left his character there. And
I thought they
you know,
would.
I
thought they would. I was like, oh my gosh, like when
yeah.
his wings blew up. I was like,
oh yeah, actually, yeah.
I was like, he's done. Especially when because that's Spider-Man's stick, isn't it? It's like it's kind of like Batman, right? Like I'll beat you to a pulp, but I'm not going to kill you. But like Spidey's like, oh my goodness, like your wings, like he's genuinely like, don't go and do this sort of thing, and
that embodies the Spider-Man spirit, right? Of like,
yeah, correct,
to save the villain. I think before that, every movie before that, did the villain? Well, actually, in the Sam Raimi ones, the villains always would seem to die at the end, except for Sandman.
Oh, and he had a real good story, if I remember.
Yeah, because he had the forgiveness arc with Peter, with his uncle and stuff, and they came to an understanding, and then he just kind of left. But then everyone else kind of died. Andrew Garfield ones, actually, they didn't die. If I think back, they didn't die. They just got rid of Jamie Foxx randomly. He just zapped away, and then it was like, okay, is he dead, or
let's just kill the black guy?
Yeah, classic.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not going there.
Yeah, but yeah. In this one, I really like him as a villain. He seems like the kind of villain Sam Raimi would have utilized, because his villains weren't just bad people. They were like just people who had certain qualities or whatever, and then they got corrupted or something like that, so it's just like that. Yeah, I think Vulture was going to be in Spider-Man 4 as well, but they cancelled that.
No.
And it might have been John what's his name? John Malkovich.
Oh my gosh, he's like power actor. I suppose they could have used oh my gosh, what's his name? The guy that plays J. Jonah Jameson, like he's a really great actor. Like, I always forget his name.
J.K. Simmons.
That's the one.
What got him to play Vulture?
The Vulture, yeah. If they hadn't already got him to play J. Jonah Jameson,
yeah. He's just too perfect as J. Jonah Jameson, though.
He's perfect. Like, don't get me wrong, he's one of my favorites.
100%.
Like, have you seen Whiplash?
Yes, I have.
Right. I've only seen that once, but he was terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Whiplash is the drumming one, right?
Yeah, with Miles Teller. But yeah, like J.K. Simmons, I think he needs to get more roles where he is an absolute nutter, and I think the Vulture is definitely one that he could play. I mean, an older Lex Luthor would be fantastic for him.
He's in that film with Andy Samberg, where they're stuck in a time loop. It's on Amazon Prime. Palm Springs.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's good in that as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Tomorrow War, because he pops up in that as well with Star-Lord. And then he's
Chris Pratt.
He's A.K. Simmons is Blench, man. He's bloody hench.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but
he shows up and it's just like these arms. I'm like, ay. I suppose if I'm an actor, though, if I'm an actor, like, I'll tell you what I'm doing all day. I'll be working out.
Yeah, get a personal trainer on deck, because I always think that if I was an actor, that'd be great to have a role like that where I have to get hench and there's no choice. I'm doing it for work. I'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah, give it to me, man. There's a scene in Spider-Man 2 in the extended version, like when they've added some of the deleted scenes back in, because they released the Spider-Man 2.1.
Oh, are you talking about Raimi's Spider-Man?
Oh, sorry, Raimi one. Yeah. And there's one where, when Peter gives up the suit, he doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah.
And the garbage guy comes into the Daily Bugle and gives Jonah the suit. And then there's a scene where JJ's wearing the suit and he's like jumping up onto the desk and pretending to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Still got the cigar in his thing, but it fits him perfectly because his body is like built for it already.
Yeah. He's an old, and he was old then.
He was old then, yeah. And he's like still old, like
he's older now.
He's just older now. But he looks the same throughout.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to this film, the villain, he's sick. Yeah,
Michael
he's a
Keaton
great
has
part.
got the gravitas to pull that off. Like and I was genuinely shocked when Peter's he's gonna take the girl out, Lisa, I think her name is, and he's gonna take her to the prom.
Oh, Liz.
Liz, that's it. And then when the doors open and it's the Vulture, I was like, oh my gosh, I just didn't see it
I
coming.
didn't see it coming either.
I was like, oh shit, you've already been in his house. You left his house to stop a drug deal with what is his name? Childish
Donald
Gambino.
Glover. Yeah.
And the Shocker.
And the Shocker. Oh yeah. I always just want to see a live action mask like version of the Shocker.
Well, so this is all right. This is where I'm gonna finally bring it up. Right, they have 2 hints to the Insidious 6 in this movie, and I was like, I love it that they didn't pull the trigger on the rest of them, because like in Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 2, they're basically like just slapping their Insidious 6 penis like all over this movie. It's like, oh, let's build it up, and then there's just Insidious 6 sauce all over it. And then, like, especially at the end when you've got the room full of the memorabilia, and you're like, oh man, they just literally, they're not hiding it. They're literally
they're literally
unzipping
up for it.
You've gone for a meal with Spider-Man 2, and you're like, this movie's treating you right. They're smiling, they're flirting nicely, and then basically they've just stood up, unzipped their massive Insidious 6 penis, flopped it out on the table, and they're just like, hey, look at this. Like, there's nothing subtle about it. However,
no nuance,
but this movie basically saw that and said, no, I'll raise you with subtlety. And I like the fact that when they said, I can't remember his names, but it's basically the Scorpion, and he shows up on the boat.
Tattoo.
And he shows up on the boat first, and they say his name. Matt Gargan. Yeah.
And
I was like,
I recognize that too.
I know that name. Oh, it's the Scorpion. And then when he gets like murked by the car, I was like, oh my gosh, they've killed him off, like they did with the Shocker, but they made the Shocker a new guy. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. And they've left the Shocker alive. Matt Gargan turns up at the end in the end credits stinger, and he's like, I want to get this guy.
Got some friends on the outside.
Yeah. And I was thinking, they're going to turn you into the Scorpion. And so they're always thinking, right, you've got 3 of the Insidious 6 in one movie, and people who don't know would never have clocked it. And also shout out to that guy, because I think the guy who plays Matt Gargan, he plays Voz in Far Cry 3 or 4. And basically
one of the accomplished guy,
he is an unreal character actor, and I even played Voz in a live version of the game. And he's nuts. And he is, when I saw him on screen, I was like, I buy that he is a terrible human being.
yeah. I fully buy it as well.
Fully buy it. So
you know what? I find it funny that you call it the that you've just been saying Insidious 6 this whole time, because it's meant to be
from the cartoon.
But it's from the cartoon. That's how I know that you're a fan of the cartoon, because for some reason they had to change certain things for the cartoon, so they called it the Insidious 6.
Yeah. Sorry.
And no. That's I when you're saying that, I was like, why does that sound right to me, even though I know it's not the actual
even though
name?
It's wrong.
And I was like, oh, it's because of the cartoon, of course. Yeah. I know that we both have an affection for that series.
It's still so good. I can't believe my 5-year-old, he ain't having none of it.
He'll grow into it, maybe.
Do you know what? I'll have to disown him if not. Like, I can take the fact that he doesn't like football. He's only 5. Like, I can take that.
5.
And if he says to me, Daddy, I support Liverpool, I'm like, well, they're really good at the moment, and Arsenal are crap. Why would you support?
Yeah, be your own person.
Do what you need to do. I do not care about that.
Yeah,
but the fact that I can't get him into Spider-Man the cartoon it's breaking me, man. Like, I love that cartoon so much.
Maybe start with, on Netflix, there's one called The Spectacular Spider-Man.
He likes that one.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's actually highly rated, even by like adult fans of Spider-Man as well. And I put it on yesterday because I think I watched another Marvel film, and I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to watch Homecoming again. I feel like I'd watched it recently, and I just kind of put it on, and it was a bit more of a nostalgia thing, because it seems like the kind of thing I would have loved as a kid. As much as I loved the animated series, if I watched this one at the same time, Spectacular one, I think I would have loved both for different reasons. But actually, quite enjoyed it. Like, it's not something I would be like, oh yeah, I've got to watch that. I've got to watch the next episode. It just, I wanted to see what all the YouTube videos were about and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, that's cool. So he's already seen that. But he likes like Spider-Man in general.
Right? He loves Spider-Man. He's got a He's had a costume since he's about 2.5, 3. No, 3.5. I
So
love Spider-Man.
What is it about the animated show?
I think it's about the animation.
Maybe, yeah.
Because it was the advent of like VR and cartoon, so it was kind of like bridging both gaps, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was like cartoon animated Spider-Man. Listen, Flash Thompson is phenomenal. Like, he's unreal.
Peter's hench, his uncle's hench, everyone's just hench.
Can we just take a shout out to Kingpin, who is unbelievable?
He looks like he's going to explode.
He's just always like, he's just always ready to pop. Like, this guy is not serious. But yeah, man, I was but yeah, I know I'm a huge fan of that. And the Insidious 6, like, what I like about the Marvel, what I like about the Marvel interpretation of Spider-Man is the fact that they can have the guy that can turn the morphing guy. I can't remember his name. They could have him join the Sinister Six in a later film. Oh, obviously, Chameleon. There you go. Yeah. Obviously, they do Mysterio in Spider-Man 2, which now I cannot wait to watch, because that's straight after Endgame, isn't it? So, so I'm near enough like caught up there. But yeah, and then you've got him. You can't have Mysterio, but you got Rhino as well that you could have. Yeah. You could have Mr. And I heard I don't know if it's real, but I saw somewhere on maybe Instagram or Twitter that Mr. Negative is going to be rolled into the MCU. And I was like,
I heard about that too. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, right, Mr. Negative is a character that I heard about, and I thought he's just a photo negative guy, or he just has a really, really cloudy disposition on life. However, I played the PS4 Spider-Man game, which is phenomenal, and you meet the Sinister Six in that, but it's a different lineup. Sure. Mr. Negative is in there. Unreal enemy if he's anything like that game. Unbelievable. And I couldn't believe like the depth, the nuance, like just a man that is giving himself over to hate. If they can roll that guy into the MCU, one heck of a bad guy. I wouldn't
be surprised. Yeah.
Can't have him with one film. It's got to be kind of something happens in a movie, and then it's like the consequences of that births Mr. Negative in his own movie, just like Black Panther, like his dad passes away in Civil War, then he gets his own movie, and you're like, right, now I understand a little bit more
it's
about
all set up already. You don't have to spend too much time shoving it into the beginning of a movie.
That's it. Mr. Negative deserves that, because he's if they do anywhere near the game, he will be an unbelievably like complex. He's good, he's charismatic, and then when he's bad, he's just
bad,
ruthless. He just straight up kill shots, like no messing around. He's kind of like the Vulture. The Vulture's like, I've given you a chance, Peter, but next time you come after me, I'm gonna kill you. And he drops a building on him.
Fully. I there's, you were talking about like the villains and stuff. There's also a reference to, do you know the Prowler?
I remember the Prowler.
Yeah, that's who Donald Glover's character would become.
Oh, Skeen!
Because he's Miles Morales' uncle.
Oh my gosh, I didn't clock that, because I was thinking, because when he said like, I've got a nephew, I was like, that's significant, but it's not. The neurons aren't firing.
No, so he that's what he's referring to, and he's got a nephew who lives around here, because they're from Brooklyn. Miles is from Brooklyn, I think. Peter's from Queens. And there's a deleted scene, I think it's a deleted scene. It's not a post-credit scene, it's a deleted scene where he's still webbed up to the car, and he's on the phone, and he's like, he actually names drop him and says, "Sorry, Miles, I'm going to be late." So it's like an indication that Miles exists within this universe. But
Miles would be real young now, because it doesn't
much younger.
Miles doesn't turn up for another, like, Spider-Man's been Spider-Man for about 10 years at the point Miles turns up, right?
Yeah, but then in the MCU, he could just be
events of
next few films. I mean, a few years have passed since this film is set in. This film came out 2017, but let's say it's set around that time in the MCU logic.
Yeah, good point.
So, and then No Way
And
Home
then we got
is
the
set in
time jump.
2024. You got the time jump as well.
Yeah, the time jump.
Yeah. So because that's why each film in the MCU is not set in the year it comes out. It's like a couple years ahead, because No Way Home is set in 2024 or something like that. I think it's 2 years ahead of us because of this timeline. Yeah. And so between now and then, Miles has done quite a bit of growing up, right? So
yeah.
You know, there's room for him to come in and get mentored by, you know, in the next trilogy of Spider-Man MCU films or whatever. So, you know, that could be a good pull for that.
I mean,
there's so many ways you can go with Spider-Man.
So many
ways.
Because Into the Spider-Verse, right? I'm wondering if, and I need to see No Way Home. Like, I'm actually burning to see now the second movie and now No Way Home, just to see if my theories are correct. But if because we obviously know, I've seen spoilers, and not storyline spoilers, but I know things that are going on in that movie. Sure. But I wonder if they're gonna roll in, because the Spider-Verse, because like since the cartoon with Madam Web and all that, like I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole Spider-Verse, like loads and loads of different Spider-Man, like what was it, Spider-Man 2099 or whatever.
Oh yeah, 2099, yeah.
The guys are badass. And then you got like Captain America Spider-Man, you got you know, I don't know, nuclear,
you got British Spider-Man as well, and there's even like there's a new trailer that came out for Across the Spider-Verse, which is the second one.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and there's an Indian Spider-Man as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I had never heard about him, and then I saw it, I was like, shit, they're actually rolling him into the movie. That's pretty sick.
Brilliant.
And there's so many places they can go. And what was I going to say? Yeah, you haven't seen No Way Home, and this is not a spoiler or anything, but there's something that happens in that which doesn't seem massively significant.
Yeah,
but you know, I'd been watching, like, I've been on a Spider-Man frenzy. I was going to say for the months leading up to the movie, but really it's been my whole life. And there's a certain moment, certain thing that happens, and I think some people might not notice a visual detail that I noticed, which is a kind of nod to just a Spider-Man thing.
Sure.
I'm trying to make this as vague as possible.
Yeah.
But I think I have a theory that it links to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You just mentioned about like Madam Web and things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Explicit, because that's meant to be the whole Spider-Verse connected through this big web, and you know, it means that some of their powers are intertwined with each other, etc., and that's how they have a link to each other. And there's different things within No Way Home which kind of point to certain things. I don't think they didn't want to muddy the film, and they didn't. I like when they do that. They put the little seeds in. They don't make it a big deal, but then they can utilize it later on. And then it's like, well, yeah, see, because
and you know it's going to come back.
Yeah, it's going to come back, and they can expand on it, but they just put it there. And if they don't expand on it, it's fine. It was part of the movie.
Yeah,
but nothing majorly significant. But yeah, there's so many things they can do, like the Clone Saga thing, you know, where you had like the Scarlet Spider-Man, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man that's not actually Spider-Man in his universe. He's an actor who plays a character called Spider-Man. So he has no powers.
or the time where Dr. Octopus and Peter Parker like got their bodies switched.
Yeah.
And like madness like that.
Yeah. And apparently that sounds so weird on paper, but apparently that's like a really good run of stories.
Apparently it worked. Apparently it's brilliant.
Yeah. Apparently it's like really, really good. And it's like Doc Ock, in the body of Peter Parker, and he tries to become a better Spider-Man, and then he has to kind of learn through, and he sees the world through Peter's eyes, through his relationships, because they all think it's just Peter, and then he it's really strange, like such a weird idea, but
exactly,
wouldn't think it would ever work.
Well, because the thing is, like, we've gotten some really good sort of iterations of Dr. Octopus, like. Is it? I always forget his name. Henry Molina. Alfred Molina is arguably one of the most sympathetic characters I've ever seen. I genuinely, I was absolutely blown away with how good he was as Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
And then, like in the PS4 game of Spider-Man, he was so sympathetic again. Like that, how they did it.
I've never played the game.
Play the game.
I don't have a PlayStation.
Just find a way.
I
Honestly,
will
it's
try.
one of the best. Like,
really
I've always
want
played Spider-Man games. Like ever since the Spider-Man movie, the original Sam Raimi one came out in 2001. I remember getting that game on the PC, thinking one of the best games I've ever played. And I've always loved Spider-Man like gameplay, but this one is kind of, it's the best. It's the best.
This one is the one I remember people when the trailer came out, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, they're trying another Spider-Man game. People were saying, oh, this one looks like it could be the one finally. And I was like, not holding my breath for it. I was not expecting the kind of response that it's like.
Yeah,
it's got. It's like I continuously see. It's like GTA. Like that came out in 2012, but you still see people put up videos for it, and they've added like downloadable content for it. You think it's like a newish kind of game. I keep forgetting it came out before I went to uni.
Yeah.
Spider-Man didn't come out that far after. Like that was 2014 or 15 or something like that.
No, the newest game I think was 2018, wasn't it?
I think there was a Miles Morales one. Which I think was like 2019 or something.
Well, I only Hold on, Spider-Man PS4. I think 2018, but Spider-Man PS4. When did you come out, mate? I mean, genuinely, it's. Oh gosh, it's just buy it. Like wiki, mate. I need to know ting about that.
I swear.
It came out in 2018. Man, I am good.
So when did the Miles Morales one come out?
It would have been 2019 or 2020.
Oh, just a year later.
Okay. You meet him in the game.
In the game, yeah.
And
okay, cool.
He's obviously he's just a kid, but he's ridiculously stupid and brave. Like honestly, like when you're playing through it, you're like Miles, like I wouldn't do this. Like,
right.
You're going up against goons and you ain't trained. Like you've just got like a hand with some skin on it. These guys have got Mr. Negative and guns. So anyway, it's really cool. I can't wait to see what happens in the next Spider-Man. I must admit, I was sitting there with my youngest son, and he was like, "Oh, pretty colors," and I was like, "This is lit."
I think this is one of the more solid Spider-Man films that is in the roster, and I think I've watched it quite a bit this year, just in terms of either doing an MCU rewatch of certain movies, and then feeling to watch it. I have a friend who's just as big into Spider-Man as I am, and so every time he comes for a studio session, it's just straight away when we come through the front door, it's just like, what Spider-Man movie are we watching tonight? It's not what movie are we watching tonight, it's just what Spider-Man movie are we watching. What Spider-Man related content.
You've got how many? 6 to choose from? So 6 individual titles.
8.
And then you've
9
got
now actually with No Way Home.
Yeah, with No Way Home.
Yeah.
So
including SpiderVerse as well.
Oh shoot. Yeah. SpiderVerse is lit. My son, my eldest, loves it. I didn't to be honest, it took me I think the second viewing to get it. Okay. And then I was like, this is unreal. Like it's just done. It's perfect. It's a comic book come to life.
Yeah, it's a comic book come to life, and it made me want to like. I was like, I wouldn't mind watching a whole cinematic universe, but with other characters, building out a comic book that style of animation. It's just so unique, and it's so comic booky. Like even the little circles that are in the back, those like little
the little dots things, and stuff.
The little dots, It's just so it's so good. But this movie, it's just really solid. I really like. Did you know the time jump at the beginning apparently is incorrect?
I didn't care.
No, you probably wouldn't notice, but it said 8 minutes. 8 minutes. It said like 8 hours. 8 hours. What am I? Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Easily done.
I got a random phone call, so Yeah, and I didn't know if I'd got the
Important
right
or not.
time. Yeah, I don't know if I got the right time for when I have to pick up my car or whatever, but we'll figure that out. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, it says 8 years. Oh, because the beginning of the film is set in
In Civil
2012.
War.
No, it's set in 2012 when they're cleaning up the wreckage and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well,
The what you'd call the equivalent of like the cold open, I guess. So
yeah. So
but
yeah,
for a
that is
movie.
2012, and then 8 years
Yeah.
would be 2020.
8 years would be 2020, but that's not correct. It's meant to be something like 4 years instead.
Sure.
Basically, they went back and had to edit it in because they were like, maybe the audience wouldn't understand that time had passed between. They'd understand that was when the Avengers came and the first attack on New York happened.
Yeah.
But then they were like, maybe we need to make it clear to them that time has now moved on and now this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they went in and whoever did it just made a mistake and just wrote 8 years instead of 4.
It's fair enough.
It was in the film because people have been like, or it says like, 6 or 8 years. And some people were like,
yeah, it's 8 years. Yeah.
Like, when's this film meant to be set then? Because Civil War happened at this time and all that stuff. But yeah. Why did I mention that? Yeah, that was just a random thing. But yeah, I really like this movie, man. I think it gets more and more I've watched it. I loved it in the cinema when I first saw it. More and more I watch it, I like a lot of elements of it. I think it's fun as well. It's actually a fun Spider-Man movie.
Right. And this was one of my reservations because I'm a grown man and like Prom and shit was, you know what I mean? Like 20 odd years ago now.
Yeah.
I'm so past it. However, because I was so engrossed by this movie, I was like, oh man, like, Peter, you're being a bit of a dick. Like, why did you ask her to the dance? And like, you couldn't just park it for like a couple of hours. Like, you had to go now. And that kind of plays into that impetuous nature of youth. And the fact that, you know, Shocker 2's like out there waiting for him. Just like, I knew you couldn't leave it alone. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, of course.
And shout out to, one thing that I would like to say is I love how like alien tech has a certain like bird-like quality. I don't know if you noticed, but the wings of the Vulture look like the ships from Guardians of the Galaxy, especially the Milano that they pilot. It's so similar, that kind of bird-like, you know, obviously the Vulture is a bird, but I like, you know, I like that the fact that there's sort of continuity, that kind of alien aesthetic is in his technology, and I really enjoyed that.
It is cool because it's like made out of all the actual tech, so I like that attention to detail. It makes it feel like it's a real living world where someone would potentially be opportunistic and salvage that stuff and create their own makeshift stuff, and it would look similar.
Well, and do some clever stuff as well, like to be able to harness all that energy and that, and like make all them, you know, bombs or not bombs, but like laser guns and all of that. Like, it's it's cool, man. Like, it's done. It's really well thought out. Like, really is. And one other thing I'd like to shout out is Tom Holland. Completely.
Tom Holland.
I thought he was good in Civil War, like as an entry, like when, you know, Stark is like, lie down, mate, you're done. And he tries to get up and he's like, yeah, I'm done. You know, very Spider-Man-y. But I thought that he was perfect in this movie. I think actually Tobey Maguire, now that we've spoken about it on previous podcasts, but Tobey Maguire was indeed the heart Spider-Man. Like, you felt him, like he was the heart guy. And then I think Andrew Garfield, for me, was the aesthetic, that kind of tall, thin, wiry kind of aesthetic.
When he's behind the mask, I think he's one of the best Spider-Mans. Like, his quipping, his actions, his body language. Yeah, 100%.
But even when he's got the mask off, and you know, when he's saving the kid in the car, and he just pulls his mask off, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just a guy, you know, come up." He just looks to me like, I think aesthetically he's perfect. American accent, great. Like, I actually think Andrew Garfield is a fantastic Spider-Man. Tom Holland, I think, has the age profile completely correct. Like, he's in his 20s, but he's playing a 15-year-old. He's baby-faced enough to pull it off, and he's awkward enough to get through it. And I think he's perfect as well. Like, absolutely. I was so sort of taken by how good he was. And I forget that he's British.
Same. I keep forgetting he's British as well. And Andrew Garfield, I keep forgetting he's British. His American accent is just so like
spot on, right?
believable. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
spot on. So
yeah.
good.
But hey, if you're getting paid all that money, you best be good. You can't be like no Jason Statham doing flipping American accents. It's one of the worst things I've ever
never
heard.
heard that, and I can't even imagine it.
Watch
He
your
just
film.
looks English to me. So
Watch a film called The One with Jet Li and listen to
okay.
that accent that he's trying to do. Jason Statham, stop it. Stay in your lane, bro. And like,
I felt that with Idris Elba on The Office when he's. I don't know if it's because I know that he's British.
oh, mate, you need to see The Wire. I thought he was American from like
really?
his first gig.
Okay.
I thought he was American.
That might be different then, because when I was rewatching The Office with
Yeah.
Well, my mates watching The Office for the first time, and I was watching some of the episodes with him, and where he's at is when Idris comes in at some point.
Sure.
And I just didn't believe his American accent.
I've heard that though. Yeah, I think even my sister said that like Idris, like that accent didn't work. But
yeah, I just didn't believe it.
I'm trying to think. If you listen to him, like I don't know if you've seen Prometheus.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I don't think I had a problem with it.
Yeah, Prometheus, he's good. Like he's done so much. But like my first sort of contact with Idris Elba was The Wire, and I was watching it way back in the day. I thought he was a Yank, and then maybe. Oh, sorry, I thought he was an American. That's don't want to be upsetting people. I thought he was American. And then when it was, what film is it? Rock and Roller in 2008, 2009, the Guy Ritchie film. And when he's just like, "Oh, all right, mate, yeah," I was like, "You're British?" Oh my God. I was like, either you're doing an amazing accent, which I don't think so, but you're a Brit. Like it totally threw me through a loop. I was like,
for sure.
But yeah,
maybe he got better at it potentially. He might have.
He was good then, bro. He was good in the early 2000s.
Well, if it was early 2000s, that's around the same time as The Office, right?
Good point. I don't know when. I've never watched The American Office, so
really?
No, never.
Although I'm saying that I only watched it in like 2020 or 2021, actually, beginning of it. So yeah, I don't know what I'm saying there.
Yeah, man.
Very much worth watching. I love that show, man.
I will get into it, but we just finished watching a show called Midnight Mass. Oh boy,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Oh. Boy, I might have to get you to watch that. It's like a 7-hour slog through misery, but it is very intriguing.
Sure.
But yeah, back to American accents and stuff. Yeah, I can't fault Andrew Garfield. I think he's perfect, and I thought Tom Holland was great for this.
Yeah, same. And
also, something that struck me about this movie was the relationship between Stark and SpiderMan. You sort of, because we're so used to seeing Tony Stark kind of with his back against the wall, trying to figure out problems, trying to be like, he's trying to always do the right thing, but he's always coming up against a problem. He's either got to fight or he's got to outthink a problem. But in this movie, you see him in his element. He's this super cocky, won't let you finish. Like he's super dominant, like in this role. And I absolutely love like when he shows up, like when after the first altercation with the Vulture, he gets dropped in the water. He's in his parachute, and then that Stark drone just comes like it smashes into the water, pulls him free, and he's just like, "Hey kid, like you know what's going on? Like you should leave this alone." And he's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're really here." He's like, "No, I'm not." And I'm not. And it was that fatherhood kind of, he's always looking out for him. And then when he's on the boat and he's pissed, and then like Spider-Man's done all the work and he's done really, really well and saved everyone's lives, and Tony Stark still bust his balls. Like at the end, like Tony, you're not even here, and he pops out of the Iron Man armor and he's just like, "Yeah, no, I'm here. You fucked up. Give me the suit."
And we've been monitoring all this stuff already. Just be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
That's it.
I thought that was because people complain about these Tom Holland movies about how he's like Spider Boy or he's Spider Junior or something, and it's like, bro, they're going with the angle of the 15-year-old Peter Parker.
He needs mentoring. Yeah,
you think in a world where this is not Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's universe, where there were no other superheroes, in a world with an established kind of Peter would have been in New York and grown up. during the time when New York was under attack from the aliens, and he saw the Avengers and whatever. So, and this is a really nerdy, smart kid who probably would have idolized someone like Tony Stark.
There you go.
And he doesn't come from a completely full on, like, they don't really go into his financial background, but he's, you know, it's not like he's rich either. But he probably sees someone like, he probably sees someone like Tony Stark, and looks up to him. Whereas Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, if he was introduced to Tony Stark, he probably would have hated him because he would have stood for everything
he hates.
Well,
he would have been another Norman Osborn, basically. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
While he respects Osborn, there's this kind of
and they live very different kind of. Yeah, they have different ideas about how to do things. Different idea about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like Peter, is just a young kid, and in a world where there's established superheroes in New York already, right? You're already competing with someone like Iron Man and
Captain America. He's from
Captain America. The new Avengers headquarters is like upstate New York, so it's still near New York. Of course, he's going to want to try and be part of the team. Now he's got superheroes.
Exactly. He wants to be recognized. And that's a young kid. Like, it's like when we were younger, like we'd see, you know, all of our musical artists. You want to be like them. And if you found that they had similar abilities to you and stuff like that, it's going to bring you closer to them.
Exactly. You latched onto them and you wanted to just... in the comic books, Spider-Man, I think I mentioned this before, in like the first issue even, he meets the Fantastic Four, who are already an established group in New York.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. Yeah,
and he wants to be part of that team, and he wants to. He tries to like he strikes like a friendship with what's his name, the Human
Johnny
Torch.
Storm.
That's it. Johnny Storm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The Human.
No,
Torch.
wait, is it Johnny Storm?
Is that his normal name? That sounds like someone else, but I don't know.
Am I thinking of Ghost Rider? Have I done it again? Human Torch.
I think
not Human Centipede. No, I'm kidding. That didn't come up. That's like the worst movie ever. The Human Torch, fictional superhero. No, but what's his name?
Yeah, surely it would say his alien.
Yeah, it is Johnny Storm. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We should stop doubting ourselves. But yeah. So
we're nerds.
People want like comic accuracy and or they want cartoon accuracy, but then they want, oh no, it has, the Raimi films are the epitome of Spider-Man story, and it's like, no, they're not. In the comic books, Uncle Ben didn't say the great power, great responsibility.
I remember you saying that the other day, and that's thrown me for a loop. I'm like, is there some kind of Mandela effect?
I think there is, because people watch the movies and think just it's like changed how they think it happened, or they just assume, well, that was adapted from the comic books. Well, actually, a lot of that movie I think was adapted from the animated series. I mean, especially Spider-Man 3, when he wakes up with the black suit and he's upside down looking at himself in the mirror. He goes to the church and the bells, and he tears off the suit. I don't think that's how it was in the original, in the comic books. He went to the Fantastic Four. Idea. He went to the Fantastic Four. They told him his suit was alive, and then they tried to extract it from him. And I can't remember how it gets onto Eddie Brock exactly. But he actually, they then create a new suit for him, which just looks like the symbiote suit, but isn't an alive alien symbiote. So he still has that, but without the negative effects of it, because he just starts to like the suit. So, you know, it's not all comic accurate, and sometimes being too comic accurate might actually not translate well. And
exactly,
you know, so which actually leads me to something. Spider-Man's you always hear his inner monologue in the comic books. You always see that we were talking about this yesterday, right? In the cartoon, he's constantly saying what's about to happen.
He is up in your grill. I just don't want to do this. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. But maybe if I do it like this, then maybe Norman won't be able to do that. I need to get to this part and do this and do that. And in the games, he would do it. And it's like, all right, shut up. I get it. We know what's going on. In this one, I thought it was quite clever how they got around it by having the woman speaking in his ears, like in the tech suit.
Yeah.
And And I know some people didn't like the fact that he had technology in his suit and all that stuff. And I'm
fantastic.
I thought it added the whole new element. We don't need the same. Each iteration has been different. We had the bare bones kind of Tobey Maguire version, the campy kind of feel good kind of deep storyline version.
Yeah.
The Andrew Garfield one where he finally has the web shooters, but he's a bit more darker in tone and everything like that. It's a bit more quote unquote edgy. And then this one's now part of an already established universe where all this technology exists.
But it was already established that Tony would fit him up with a suit because he's seen, he was in his room. So Tony was like, dude, like what this is what you're going out in now. I've got something better for you. He gives him a suit. So if you haven't seen that, that's why he's got the tech. But not only that, in the movie, he goes back to bare bones anyway and wins. So it's a whole arc
on his own merit.
That's it. And Tony's like, especially at the end where he's like, you're cool. Like, you know, I'm going to give you this suit, which by the way, I was like, oh, cool. Because you see it in Infinity War. I was like, oh, that's where it comes from.
That's where he got it.
I was like, that is beautifully done. Like the Iron Spider suit. I was like, oh, well done, Tony. Well done. Yeah. And, but the arc was, and this is something I did not expect. I did not expect to think about something so deeply and something so profound. But it was when Spider-Man says, I don't want to, like, thanks, but no.
Yeah.
I want to, he says something along the lines of, I want to keep my head low and fight for the little guy.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about our expectations as human beings. Like, that for me is kind of, that is the epitome of Spider-Man, which I love, but also like what we should actually look to do in our own lives as well. I was just like, I can't believe like it hit me so profoundly. I was like, oh my goodness, we all have these sort of delusions of grandeur, right? Like that, oh man, you know, hopefully one day, I don't know, an alien ship's going to like pop up and just be like, you're the one that we've been looking for. You come from a lineage of like flipping starfighters, and like these starfighters were going to go out to all kinds of, you know, enter the galaxy. Don't worry about coming back home, because you know what, when you fly off with us, we'll freeze time. We can do that. We've got universal power, blah, 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 blah. No one's going to notice or know anything, that you've saved billions and billions of lives. And you know what I mean? Like, we've all got delusions of grandeur, or that's my one anyway. But
I can tell.
What I was thinking about is like, you know, or we've stopped an invasion, or zombies, or whatever the thing is, right? We all want to be a hero. And I think in wanting to be that kind of hero, we have forgotten that actually it's our lives, it's our actions on the small scale that actually are the real difference. So when it is giving that little bit of extra patience to your annoying partner, for example, or wife, you know, or whether it's your kids that are crying and they're crying for no reason. You're like, you know, it's really hard, or, you know, to kind of understand why you're fucking crying. It's driving you nuts and nuts. Just that little extra bit of patience. Just like, no, it'll pass. It'll be fine. You relax. They relax, you know, whether it be picking up an old lady drops a bag on the floor, pick it up, smiling at somebody that looks miserable. Just small little things actually have a ripple effect that you won't ever see, but they really do matter. And so that's what I took from that. And I was like, I did not expect to have that kind of thought from this flipping movie. And I'm sitting there like, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. I love this movie.
That's such a good summary of it, man. Of that whole thing, you know, that whole Spider-Man ethos.
Yeah.
Because it's not about swinging up through, you know, buildings and crawling up walls and beating up bad guys. You know, the reason I think, like I said at the beginning, that someone like Spider-Man is probably one of the most worldwide, like, even just commercial properties, like, because kids love him, adults love him. It's across the board, right? And I think because there's this innate kind of feeling that people really relate to the story, they really relate to the character, and they want to kind of, it embodies them to be like better, even on a smaller kind of level. You know, you can be a hero, you can be a Spider-Man to someone by doing those things that you just said.
Yeah.
You know? And Peter doesn't, when Tony even says to Peter, when he says, I'm nothing without the suit, he says, well, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve to have it. And people keep forgetting that. Like that those parts happen. They just, it's sometimes I wonder if they've even seen the movie and they've just seen the trailer of Iron Man and Spider-Man swinging through the city, which is not even in the movie.
It's not.
It's just part of the trailer. Again, Marvel's classic kind of misdirect in the trailers to make you feel like it's going one way and then it actually goes another.
But for me, always, like, even seeing that, I was just like, oh, well, it makes sense. He's got a soft spot for the kit.
Of course.
You know?
I've got a theory as well. Well, it's not my theory, but I saw a theory because basically I think there's going to be a Disney Plus show, which is an animated Spider-Man show called Spider-Man Freshman Year. And it's going to be set before Civil War. So it's going to show like the first 6 months of him being Spider-Man. So we might get to see the origin, and we may get to see even if there's an Uncle Ben or anything like that.
Yeah.
And anything like that.
Do we really need it? Because this is the thing. This is why I was reticent to even view this movie, because I've already seen Uncle Ben.
Yeah,
I've seen him twice, and
so
it's kind of like
might not need it.
It's kind of like what's his name, Bruce Wayne and his parents. Seen him die loads of times.
We don't need to see that every time. Just start off as Batman, and
don't need to see it.
Yeah, we'll put it together. I'm glad that they didn't go into the whole origin of him again. They gave him his movie, and he's already established. You know,
he's still kind of new at it, and that's it. And he's learning he's got his training wheels on.
Exactly. We were with him in Civil War. My brothers went to see that movie. They hadn't seen Civil War. Still enjoyed it. You know, they still got the gist of it. So yeah. It's just like, oh, this guy is Spider-Man. Okay, cool. I think we'd grown up maybe when we had superhero movies come out and stuff. We expected to be kind of told where the villain comes from and where the hero comes from.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being like, oh, okay, this guy just already is the character he is.
That's it. Yeah.
We might find out a bit more about that later on. We don't need to see every bit of it.
But that's why people, for example, though, they don't like that. Like, if you think of Kylo Ren, they've kind of they haven't got the full villain. They've got the guy before the full villain. So he's still conflicted. He's not evil yet, you know? And people hated that, but they shit the bed on that whole thing because they could have made him amazing. But, you know, people just kind of, they want what they don't have. And so if you even have a good villain who is, you've seen the journey, you know, towards villainy, people will be like, oh, we don't need to see it. Okay, fine. Then you've got a villain. Then you get like somebody who's already established. I don't know. I'm sure somebody would have seen who was already established. Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, he's not got enough backstory. No, he's just a badass. That's it.
So this is the thing. They don't always have to be Thanos level depth or anything like that. You can just have a bad guy who just is a bad guy every now and then, if it works as part of in the service of the story. And I think for Spider-Man, having more human level grounded villains complements his more grounded
aesthetic
hero, you know,
which is why Michael Keaton completely was amazing.
100%, man. And there's this theory about in the freshman year that some people theorize that it's the radioactive spider that would have bit him might have been engineered by Tony Stark, but not on purpose, not with the purpose, but just as one of his many different experiments or something. And that Peter might have gone to a Stark expo or something and got bitten by one of the spiders then. And then when Tony started seeing these YouTube videos, like in Civil War, he shows him the YouTube videos, like, is that you? Like swinging around New York, doing all this stuff. And he's like, I wonder if there's a link between those things I was working on and this kid. And that's why he went to seek him out. That's how he just said to Natasha, I think he just said, oh, I know a guy. And then he goes to Queens, or I have someone in mind. And he just goes to Queens to find Peter. You know,
but then you're writing out Norman Osborn and you're writing out Kurt Connors.
Yeah. Maybe they just don't exist yet in this world, and they might come in later. You know?
Yeah. So, but I don't know, man, because it's so entrenched. Yeah, I suppose Oscorp is.
How would Norman fit? Yeah, with there being an Avengers Tower.
It doesn't fit.
There's no Oscorp. So, and also it might explain why Tony's packing up all that stuff and move from Avengers Tower somewhere else, so that something like that doesn't happen again. Because some people were thinking that maybe Peter might have, like, I don't know, broke in, or not broke in, but was so eager to kind of know more. And, he has that kind of way about him, that he may have accidentally got bit by the spider at that point, and then
Fucking nerds,
kind of
man.
put it together. Yeah. And I'm just like, how do you think of this stuff? And if that becomes true, I'll be like, how do you guys think of this stuff? I just find I find that cool. I actually like the kind of go in with the established character, do all of that stuff, and then have an idea of where it came from, and then maybe flesh that out later once you've got established with the character and his stories. It's more bonus content. It's like, you don't have to watch. I like it freshman year to be something that you don't have to watch. But if you're interested, here's a little extra bonus.
Well, it's kind of like What If, isn't it? Because that's now opened the door to Doctor Strange 2 and also Spider-Man 3, right? That's basically the door opener. So people who haven't seen it.
Have you seen Loki?
Oh, yeah, the variants. Yeah. I saw Loki
I think that
finally.
Established it. Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't like the show.
Really?
I didn't think it was, I thought it was okay. It just didn't look, it looked very, very TV budget to me, because we're used to seeing Loki in kind of
in that big budget,
in that kind of big, movie budget, and like obviously TV budget is a lot smaller, but it just looked, it really took me out. I couldn't get into it at all. I don't know.
Do you think it's because the aesthetic of the TVA?
Yeah,
because it's meant to have that kind of old time look to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Something just didn't connect for me, and like it was,
sure.
I don't fall asleep throughout like any programs like ever until Loki.
Really?
Genuinely, yeah. I was just like, I don't, until they said, when he said, "Oh, how come I'm being punished?" and how come the Avengers went through time and they're all right? And then when they said the line, "Yeah, but that was meant to happen, you're not," I was like, so it's not a ringing endorsement. Maybe I'll give it another go. Maybe, but
I think I just I don't know why. I was really taken by it, and I was wondering how they were gonna. I think I just found the mystery of it quite interesting about the TVA and how all that stuff was going to happen, and then the timeline thing, the fact that it was on a loop and it was all predetermined. And I was like, what? That changes everything. But then obviously towards the end, it all breaks apart and stuff. And there's a reason why someone had created the loop and actually wasn't in the best interests of everyone, etc., etc. It's more of a power thing.
Because they threw, because you actually see like a good variant of Kang the Conqueror, and like he's one of the most. I've only read a few comics with him, but it's so stupidly comic booky, convoluted with him.
Yeah,
like there are
even his like suit and stuff.
Well, he basically is sitting at the end of time, and I think what he's done is
or something, right?
Yeah, so he sits at the end of time, and what he does is he goes back into like different universes and different timelines. There are trillions of Kangs knocking about all throughout history at any given point, at any given time. So he can literally just go, oh, well, this universe is in trouble. That's fine. I don't need to assert my dominance here. It's fine. We'll go somewhere else. Like he's got an infinite amount. Basically, there's an infinite amount of him. And it's like, how do you beat an enemy like that? Fucking hell. Like, do you know what I mean?
You bring in an infinite amount of heroes, isn't it? Because there would be
because he's in the, I don't know, I can't remember if he's in Loki, but the Damocles, right? He's in the sword. That's his, he's in his ship called the Damocles. And there's only, I think, one of those. But then there are infinite Kangs knocking about, and they all know the assignment. They're all like, it's fine, man. Like,
it's like there's some that are bad, some that are good, or some that are just, they don't know any better, or something like that, right?
So I can't remember, because in the comics they'd have to. I don't know, man. Like I'd have to read a lot, but like I always thought that Kang Prime always knocked about in the comics. The one that you see isn't like necessarily the variant. He's Kang Prime sitting at the end of time, just investigating what's going on. So yeah. So I mean, it's really convoluted. Like. As much as I thought the idea of rolling him into the MCU would be really cool, I'm like now looking at it going, it could be good, but it could be really bad.
Could be really bad as
having a character that complicates everything. And I suppose with Doctor Strange might meet him in Doctor Strange 2.
Well, I think Doctor Strange 2, I'm thinking is I think that this year or last year has been really building up. Well, technically with Endgame it has, and then there's like little references to like multiverse stuff in some of the other films, like Far From Home or whatever. But Endgame, with them going back in time, and then explaining how it's not just they're in their own time, they create a branch timeline and stuff like that. So the original timeline continues as it was, and all that, unless you put the stones back or something like that. And then I think from 2021, because did you watch WandaVision?
No, I haven't yet.
That's a great show as well, and
I've heard it's real good. Yeah,
WandaVision, Loki, What If, these shows really, and then No Way Home, really set off this whole multiversal thing, which then I think is going to, I don't know if it's going to continue or if it's just going to culminate in Doctor Strange 2, because that's literally called Multiverse of Madness. And
yeah.
There's been some crazy rumors about, like, it feels like the kind of film where they can throw all sorts of things in there.
I think they're going to throw in
service of the story.
I think they're going to throw in Supreme Strange into Multiverse of Madness, and if they do,
well, have you seen the trailer?
I saw literally, I think the end of it, and it is when he sees a darker version of himself,
and
I'm
a darker version of himself. Yeah,
is that Supreme Strange? Because we see him in What If.
Yeah,
in What If, like Supreme Strange can go up against the Infinity Gauntlet and hold his own.
Yeah.
The galaxy explodes. Ultron explodes the galaxy. My mouth was agape when I saw that. I was like, hang on, what? And he rewinds time. I think that's how he does it. He rewound time to the point the explosion was so small that he put that explosion in his mouth. It's a galaxy ender.
Yeah.
And then his eyes light on fire a little bit. Unreal. I'm hoping we see that guy because our Doctor Strange, friendly guy, narky guy, doesn't stand a chance against that. No way.
Yeah, and
you just got to run.
Literally after all the growing like Doctor Strange has done as a person as well throughout these films and whatever, I'm really interested to see how he deals with all this stuff in Doctor Strange 2, man. Like, but I wonder if it will close up the whole multiverse thing.
Maybe,
and that maybe that's not where the whole MCU is going to go, because I think that was the thought that the MCU is just going to go in this direction of just multiverse stuff. But I wonder if it's actually just a smaller saga building up to whoever their next Avengers level event is, right? Whether it's Kang or whoever,
I don't know. I think it'd be a damp squib if it was Kang. Like if they were against. I'm trying to think who they've hinted about and not sort of pulled the trigger on, because they've hinted at the Living Tribunal in Doctor Strange, which he's not good or bad. He's just. I reckon they got to go with Galactus. Like
I was going to say Galactus.
Not level.
They had a little glimpse of him in What If, right? When he eats the galaxy, literally just bites.
Yeah. When it's Ultron Galactus. Yeah. I did click that.
I was so shocked by that show, man. Like I thought it was just going to be a standalone. Oh, interesting. What if scenarios?
So did I.
They were going to bring it all together and be like, when the Watcher says, "Oh," and he's narrating, and then he says, and then he hears a voice, and he realizes that and then he's just like, "Wait, what?" Because he realizes that Ultron can see him now.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hold up." And then suddenly you're like, oh shit, it's not like fourth wall breaking. It's a different kind of thing where you think suddenly the narrator is in the story.
Yeah,
and
correct.
He's in the prism and he's looking around. He's like, how can you see me? And then they're fighting. I was like, I was not expecting this to happen.
I did like the line where he's like, I have seen countless things in all dimensions, in all different worlds, but what the hell is this? And it was like,
he's legit shocked.
Yeah. And then he's just like, right, okay, cool. I know a guy. He's like, and then he goes to Supreme Strange, who
because I was going to say that. I was going to say so that there was a little hint of that with Supreme Strange calling out for help, and somehow he could see the Watcher, but he's like, no, I can't intervene. But yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because he does see him. Yeah, he sees a little window and he's there. Yeah.
I was kind of really sense him because he's so powerful or whatever. He has this really acute awareness.
Cosmic level awareness, mate.
Yeah. But bringing it back.
Anyway, sorry.
No, what were you going to say? Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, like, maybe the threat doesn't need to be like universal, like Thanos was.
Yeah.
Maybe the threat will just be, sort of galactic.
Sure. Yeah.
Because in the Eternals, and I haven't seen it, but I know that there are Celestials, and basically in the comics, they're big old beings in armor, but they're like energy and armor. And what they do is, so there's this whole nerd thing. Give me 2 secs. There's so Galactus is the world devourer, and what he does is he goes around and he eats planets, right? However, the Celestials, what they do is they plant eggs in planets, and basically when the egg is going to hatch, boom, there's a Celestial, but everybody on that world dies.
Sure.
And basically what Galactus does is he goes to planets where the eggs are and he'll eat them. So he's kind of like a balancing force. But anyway, so I'm hoping that basically Earth has one. He's going to come along. Fantastic Four or whoever stops him.
Oh yeah, that's Fantastic Four. Yeah, they could roll them in.
They could roll him in like that
as well. Because I swear in the Fantastic Four, but the second one, so Fantastic Four 2, the Silver Surfer one, they had Galactus, but they didn't show him. He was just
it was a
cloud that could eat, and it was just like, why? That'd have been so disappointing. Like if I was into it in that way. But how did we get onto this from Spider-Man?
We're way out in the weeds. We were talking about Spider-Man, enemies, and the next freshman iteration. Freshman year, and then what if, and then what the next big bad will be, because I think Kang is it'll be too shit to do. But I don't know. I hope Galactus or a corrupted living tribunal. That would be really cool.
I mean, they have the Celestials in Eternals, which we will discuss on this thing because it's part of your catch up.
Part of my training. Yep.
Training,
I'm not watching Captain Marvel, by the way. I refuse.
I thought you'd seen it already.
No, I ain't seen it. I'm not going to, because it just looks crap.
I actually really enjoy it, but okay.
I'll draw the line there.
I thought Black Widow was the one you weren't gonna.
Oh, was that it?
Oh, that was
could it be that I'm being sexist? All right.
I think so, David. I think I'm
really? No way. Like,
it was Black Widow. You said I'm not going to watch Black Widow.
Okay, cool. All right, fine. I'll watch Captain Marvel because it's got space shit in it, and I love space stuff.
Yeah. Black Widow is the more grounded one, but it's
no point watching it.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch it if you want, just for
I'm not going to
completionist type shit. Yeah, I always forget it exists, to be honest.
Anyway,
yeah. But yeah, this film, Homecoming, I think it was really, really good. I've seen so many Spider-Man films up until this point, and I was surprised that when I left the cinema, how much I was like, this is the third iteration.
And it's fantastic.
Am I not just eye-rolling at this point? Like,
but this was my fear. This was my fear right at the start. I don't need to see it again. Again, like, how many Batman have I lived through?
Right, yeah, right.
And it was nice to see Batman just be an absolute badass in this film. Yeah. So, but I've lived through so many iterations of Batman, dude, that, you know, I can understand people's reticence to get involved. And same with Spider-Man. Like, this is, for me, the 6th film and the 3rd dude. Like, what's it going to do new for me? And then I forgot, like, my manners. So I've been humbled, and like this
film's great, man.
Out of 10, I mean, it's strong, isn't it? It's an 8. It's an 8.
I'm good with that. Yeah, good with that. 8.5 for me, I think.
It's easy 8, and it might even go up, like, considering what we're going to do next time, which will be Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to see that. Mysterio is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I used to love Mysterio as well.
I hope his goldfish bowl like lights up when he talks. I don't know why I've always
I actually can't remember if that happens or not.
I hope it does.
Oh yeah, that's a detail. Oh yeah, man, what nostalgia. I love in this film as another detail. I love the comic book references, but I think one thing that also, again, people just forget about when they criticize Tom Holland is that thing when the building collapses on him and he's literally a 15, 16-year-old kid. It doesn't matter if he's got spider powers. He's trapped under all this rubble and he's literally desperately calling out for help. Yeah. You know, I think we've all been in those positions where we've just panicked and thought, kind of, how am I going to get out of this one? I don't know what to do. You know, even being caught in like a small space, like let's say you can't unlock a door or something, and you know you're kind of stuck. It can be a really stressful situation. So buildings collapse on this 15-year-old kid, and he sees his reflection.
I bought it.
Water. Yeah, and that's taken from the comic book. That's a that's a really powerful part where he literally just uses all his strength that he can just to lift something off of him, like all the rubble in the comic book story.
By the way, he can lift like 10 metric tons, so
yeah,
he ain't no slouch. This is why he can lift that building. He ain't
of course, yeah.
Pussy.
He doesn't give right, exactly. He doesn't give up, and he's not in his fucking Stark suit when he's doing this.
Correct.
He has no one. He doesn't have, what's the name, Karen, to talk to, right? And he's in that suit which he made, which is it looks like the inverse version of the Scarlet Spider-Man.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I clock that.
Instead of it being the light blue hoodie.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to see a live action version of that suit. Like, just
I did like I did clock that detail of it. I was like, I know that one. And I like the squinty eyes. I've always liked that.
Yeah.
So
the way they make the eyes retract and show emotion, so he doesn't have to keep taking his mask off all the time. That was so annoying in the other movies.
Like earlier on in the film where he's trying out the suit after the training wheels program's off, and then it's just like entering kill mode, and his eyes go black and the 2 red dots. It's like, no. But yeah, like
because he uses that in Endgame, right?
He does. He uses
kill mode.
Yeah.
And I love it when she's like, "Would you like to activate stealth mode?" And he's like, "Stealth mode? Yeah." He's just a kid. He just finds that kind of thing like really cool.
Yeah.
But that whole thing as well shows like how he bypassed the training protocol, went in way over his head, and actually impeded his work.
It fucked him up.
It fucked him up, and then he got taken away from him, and yet he proved himself
worthy of it. Which is why, what I also like as well, though, we haven't shouted out Ned. What a great side character.
Yeah.
Genuinely, we all have a friend like Ned, and what a character.
We all deserve a friend like Ned.
We all do. And I also think that, MJ, I like the fact that they barely factored her in. She's just sarky, quippy, and that's basically it. Flash Thompson, though, I was like, you could have got somebody a bit more Flash. Like, you just got some. I mean, he's just any guy, right?
He's just a guy. Yeah, he's a bit of a bully, but he's not like a threatening bully, really. He's just
you kind of want him to be like that kind of Flash Thompson from Tobey Maguire that's like pushing him around. And when you get to the third film, you're just like, Flash, come on now, like, are you really going to take me? Like, and he embarrasses him, you know. So you kind of want that kind of antagonist, just like you don't know who you're messing with. This guy can lift like lockers up like it's nothing. He can lift a collapsed building. Like, you don't know who you're messing with, and that's kind of the beauty of Spider-Man. Like,
that's the beauty of it. He could rip him apart, but he doesn't. He just kind of lets it. He just lets it happen.
But and also like one little last comment is when he shakes the Vulture's hand, and he's like, "Whoa, one hell of a grip there." You're like, like,
of
no
course,
wonder he could.
Of course, he can lift a fucking.
He can lift
stop
buildings.
A school bus with his bare hands. That's what he says at one point, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being able to flex like that.
Well, to be honest, like anybody that like bullied me would be getting launched into space. Just straight up, like, you want to go and see the sun? What?
But yeah, so we're saying what about Strong 8?
Oh, Strong 8. This is one of my favorites, man. I love it. I loved it. Can't wait to see Spider-Man 2. Can't wait to see Spider-Man 3. Like, I thought I was off the Marvel train. I'm clearly not. So I'm going to be watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in cinemas. Like, you know, I'm going to be watching that. So, yeah, man. Sick. Thank you for the recommend. I absolutely love this film.
For sure. And,
and this discussion. Look at
discussing it. Yeah, because, and I think going with the MCU ones is a good one to start with. One, because it's obviously relevant. Spider-Man's extremely relevant right now as well. And it's just fun talking films.
For real.
Yeah. So that's cool. It's a nice little aside from the music stuff. But so next week, Far From Home, which there's a bit of a time gap.
Oh no, when you say next week, don't you mean 2 weeks?
Sorry.
Next film episode.
Next film episode is what I mean.
So we'll do Far From Home.
Far From Home. Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Yeah, banging. Sweet. I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. Well, listen, all of you lovely, lovely people who have joined us for our inaugural voyage into the film world. We are now film podcasters now, as well as music podcasters.
Yeah.
As you can tell, we're massive nerds when it comes to this kind of stuff. I love Spider-Man. I always have. KD loves Spider-Man. That's his guy. Thank you so much for listening to us ramble on, and hopefully you found enjoyment in it. And this is my call to arms. Hit us up on the socials. Like, come on, we need your engagement. Like, we need your help. Lovely. It's beautiful. Hope all your family and everybody is well. Peace out until the next time.
Peace.